As we wait to hear of the outcomes from the NATO summit, it sounds like a big announcement is certainly on the way. What are you hoping for in terms of their new strategic concept?
Well, first and foremost, I do not invite Jens Stoltenberg at these times because the preparation of the strategic concept, of course, has been a longer process than starting from this year. And we know that situation has radically changed. Our neighbor at the east is totally unpredictable. We must think of the unthinkable. And NATO, as it always has done, has to quickly adapt, to be always prepared and to guarantee that its 100% track record of always being able to deter any attack against any NATO member is still doable in the future.
We're expecting confirmation of a rapid defence force to be increased from 40,000 to 300,000. I mean, it is a huge increase, but for you, does it go far enough?
Well, it's not only the rapid increase of the forces which we will know about, but we also need to be trained, exercised and prepared in case things start to going wrong. And we do not mean people or Russian army crossing onto any territory of NATO's country. But let's say we have something behind the border which we do not understand. And considering the unpredictable nature of Russian regime, we should then at this time know exactly who will quickly come here already to deter and who will also be ready to follow on if the worst happens. And our commanders, our military planners must know exactly who does what and when and where. This is not currently the situation yet, and I am quite sure that this analysis of what Russia is nowadays will lead NATO to the right decisions.
Currently, the Rapid Defence Force is kept in home countries, pre-assigned to defend the Baltics if need be. Are you happy with that, or would you like the troops to be boots on ground, physically based in Estonia and the other Baltic countries?
Well, so far the current situation has been entirely satisfactory because if we are ready to move at the slightest signal of, as I said, change of situation behind NATO's eastern border, it doesn't, I repeat, it cannot be already a real attack on any NATO member. But if we are ready to react to early signals, in case of Ukraine, for example, the signals were there for months and months. If we are ready to react at that time period, to make sure that our adversary knows there will be much more forces facing them than is the normal level, then this is the most important element which NATO can do and has to do. It cannot be that when something unpredictable finally happens, then we gather in Brussels, start discussing, then we see what we can scramble together. This will be not enough in the current circumstances, looking at what Russia has been able to do in Ukraine.
Boris Johnson has talked a lot about Estonia the last couple of days. Of course, UK troops, we know, are based in Estonia. And what do you make of his plans to expand its European headquarters there?
Yes, indeed. Part of this planning scheme for our commanders to know who is doing what, when and where is exactly this. We have a command structure ready. We have a structure into which the follow-on forces will then fit. And this is indeed a good plan. And I totally understand Boris Johnson really making the statements what he is making, because during the enhanced forward presence in Estonia, UK army has also learned a lot about territorial deterrence in Estonia and potential defense. And therefore, the steps taken now are entirely logical.
I mean, you are Estonia's former president, I think the youngest president as well, to boot. I mean, how concerned are you about Estonia's safety? I mean, how much do you think the country is at risk because of what Vladimir Putin is doing in Ukraine?
Look, I'm not that young that I wouldn't remember Soviet occupation. And even if to some, let's say, Brezhnev time seemed like, okay, rather funny, I mean, an old man, probably not very aggressive, but you have to understand, during Soviet occupation, speaking up against the regime meant jail, prison, even to the time of Brezhnev, and this did not change. Stalin died, Gulag stayed. We remember a lot about how Russia as an occupation force and even as an occupying society acts in occupied territories. So this is not about territory, land grab. It is about people's lives rape, murder. This happened in my country in 1950s. Gradually, the level of violence went down, but those who did not compromise, those who did not work with the regime, they were still jailed. This is what Russia has always been. This has not changed.
And we hear that last night Turkey has reached an agreement with Sweden, and now it may be that the pathway, if you like, is open for neutral countries, Sweden and Finland, to join NATO. How significant a move is that, do you think?
I believe that our military people are actually very happy because the situation around the Baltic Sea radically changes. For example, Russia has been very prone to send its submarines and other ships into the Baltic Sea and Gulf of Finland to be visible during the exercises. Now, this will be inner sea of NATO, so obviously a lot changes. But of course, our collective defense in northeast corner of NATO will be considerably strengthened by this move.
So the big question, which we haven't asked yet, is what message, of course, this sends to Putin, but also how's he going to react now that he's faced the prospect of Finland joining NATO and a new 800-mile NATO border right on his doorstep?
Well, he's unpredictable, but maybe our nerves in the West can be calmed by the fact that when Putin has very often claimed that he's afraid of NATO's expansion and this is why he's doing what he's doing, in fact, he's lying. And we have caught his lie out. You know how we know this? Because right now, behind the borders of NATO countries who have a border with Russia, there is nothing. The level of forces behind northeastern borders of NATO is extremely low compared to the normal times. So our nerves can be calmed by the fact that right now there seems to be inability to react in any forceful way. But of course we do expect STRATCOM exercises, we do expect cyber attacks, trying to show as if societies in northern countries or in Baltic states or wherever are not on the same page, are not agreeing. I mean, this is all we do expect, but this is anyway. This is normal in this corner. So first and foremost, there shouldn't be any physical danger because all Russian troops are engaged in Ukraine. Second, we do expect that all kind of hybrid things could happen.